good turnout this evening for Lord Dove's and Safe Passage UK, and I think it's actually testament to the strength of feeling there is amongst islanders, and despite the noise from some quarters, I think is reflective of the fact that most people in Jersey are generous and compassionate and want us to play our part in this crisis. So I am in absolutely no doubt whatsoever when I say that Jersey, as one of the richest and safest places on the planet, could and should welcome our share of child refugees. For me, it actually comes down to a very basic question, which is, do we help people who are in need, or do we do nothing and leave people to either live in misery or to die as the world faces such a humanitarian catastrophe? Do we turn our backs on the most vulnerable people in the world because it's too difficult or too inconvenient? And in answering these questions, I find it helpful to look at the history. It's in living memory for some that whilst Europe was being decimated by war and genocide and Jersey was occupied by the Nazis, 6,500 people from Jersey were evacuated to the mainland as refugees. It's also a much forgotten fact that in a relatively short space of time in the 16th century, Jersey welcomed 3,000 Huguenot refugees to settle into the island. And though what we see on the news today may feel like it's happening very far away, our history has been steeped in this too, and our history may have been very different and much darker had our refugees not been welcomed during their moment of need. And we betray those in our past, and those who acted with such bravery and kindness to those desperately fleeing conflict, if we forget those lessons today. And from across the world, we actually see the evidence that when refugees are given the chance and get back on their feet, they end up contributing more than they take, and many go on to achieve amazing things in their adopted homes, and Jersey would be no different if we did that too. Many of us will have found it impossible to escape the commentary that there has been in advance of this meeting and around previous discussions on refugees before, where often the very worst of Jersey society comes out. And we're presented with these false dichotomies, and we hear the cliches all the time, you know the ones, charity starts at home, or we should help our own first. And so I want to say that if we're honest with ourselves, I think we have to admit that actually hidden somewhere in this outcry are the symptoms of genuine anxieties that are actually completely understandable. There are people in Jersey who really struggle, and we do have poverty levels in Jersey which are unacceptable. We do have a lot to do to improve our public services to support the most vulnerable people in Jersey, especially children. But you don't start the work to help vulnerable people in Jersey by pitting them against vulnerable people from outside Jersey. There lies absolutely nothing positive down that road, and nobody is helped by being bound up in negativity. So let's reject selfishness, let's reject division, and let's certainly reject racism. What guides us should be principles of compassion and humanitarianism. That is what the focus must be on, what we can do, not what we can't do. And as Minister for Children, I know and accept that actually this wouldn't be easy. I've spoken with my officers, and we are well aware of the difficulties there would be in supporting refugees, particularly those with complex needs, and we know full well that our services are stretched as it is, and in many ways we're not starting from a good place, and I think it is important to acknowledge that. And add on top of that, we know there are also complex issues with our immigration laws, which would make this difficult. But we have to commit to improving our children's services, because we want this to be the best place in the world for children to grow up and to thrive in and to receive the very best supports that they can. A couple of weekends ago, I visited Jersey's mosque for their open day, and just in casual discussions with some of the others there, somebody quoted the line from the Quran, which basically says, if anyone saved a life, it would be as if he saved the life of all mankind. And I know that there's a similar saying in the Jewish faith as well. And as I think of that, I hope deeply that as we strive to make these improvements in Jersey's services, that one day in the near future, we will be able to do our parts in this terrible crisis that humanity is facing, and open our hearts and offer a home to some of the most vulnerable people in the world, because not that long ago, it was people from Jersey asking for that assistance. Thank you very much.